Cool. So, thanks for all joining today for the MuleSoft Asia Summit. And today's agenda is basically we are going to introduce host and then speaker. Then we look into the quick benefit of the MuleSoft, and then we'll introduce how we can increase the reusability, and with the help of reusability, how we can fast track the development and reduce the time to market. And there are multiple reusable methods. We will all try to look into those options. And then one of them is externalizing reusable mule flow that we will discuss in detail. And at the end, we will discuss also how to manage Maven dependencies. And I will just give some demos as well. So let's look into our hosts. So our hosts are Ravi Kumar, Abhishek, and Tejasvi. These are the vibrant host for our community, I think, in Hong Kong. They are running up for a lot of meetups, as you know already. And this speaker is about me. This is my first meetup for the Hong Kong community, but I have done few meetups here in New Zealand. And I'm working as a principal integration consultant at Dawanti Consulting. Dawanti Consulting is one of the famous name in New Zealand. Uh, I am having overall experience of 13 years in IT, most of them in the integration space. I have worked on a lot of integration product like Oracle Fusion Middleware, IBM, WSO2, and Microsoft Distock. And now I am currently working on the MuleSoft. I am MuleSoft certified developer, and I am also going to appear for certification exams very soon. So let's look into the benefit of the MuleSoft. So definitely MuleSoft has come up. This old slide I have just copied from the MuleSoft website, and they are claiming about uh, areas where MuleSoft can help us out. So I'm going to focus mainly on these two parts, where first one is reduce development time and increase productivity. So the whole session will be just going to focus on these two areas, right? And then, okay, how we can reduce the development time? So that's the important question. One is with the help of MuleSoft, as we know that MuleSoft provides drag and drop capability where a lot of different connectors, maybe more than hundreds of connectors, we can just drag and drop them and configure them, and it is ready to use the API. But in case of, if, for example, if you want to choose any other framework like Spring Boot or any other environments, and in that case, do a lot of custom coding, have you to build up framework kind of a thing. But here is framework and everything is ready to use. And on the top of head, MuleSoft come up with a lot of other features like API design, management, API monitoring, and API manager is also there. You can apply a lot of policies. And we have a cloud of solution available, which means that even, for example, if you want to talk about the hello world example type of API, we can productionize within a few hours of work, and we can deploy that on available to the public on the spot. So that is very fast, super easy, and all. And let's look into one of the use case for the basic MuleSoft application. So I have just come with this kind of a sequence diagram, which says consumer application is going to, this could be a consumer API, could be like, for example, in our case, process API, which is going to send a request to system API, and system API is going to call the third party API, REST based, SOAP based, or anything like that. And the first, whenever consumer sending application or process API to system API, then there's called request transformation we need to do. And then we need to send, system API will receive the request. It will do some sort of authentication and then send the request to the backend. So this is a very basic, simple application. Let's talk about how to implement that sort of API. So what we need to do to achieve that solution is, like, one is we need to call backend application, we need to do request and response transformation, and we need to log like incoming request, outgoing request, then response back from the third party API, and whatever response we are going to send back after transformation. So to achieve this, there is mule palette. We are going to drag and drop all of these components, and then we need to add error handler at the end. So that is how we are going to implement that use case. So now we're going to talk about like, okay, are we doing anything here repetitive? So that's a yes. So this is something called logging thing that we are logging again and again. So this is something can be maybe we can build a kind of a reusable part or component, and then maybe another scenario could be whenever we want to make any backend API call. In that scenario, we maybe can like log it request and outgoing response from the API. Also, we can make a kind of a shareable component. And another one is like this error handling thing. So error handling is like in every API we need to implement error handling, and so in that case also we can come up with some kind of a standard error handling pattern that can help us to reuse in multiple APIs. Next one is these are the few other areas like logging, health check API, for example, in the DevOps area. Generally, we need to create one health check type of a resource which can help us to find out if the API is up and running or not. We need to make some like a lot of time process API to system API calls and error handling. So these are the few scenarios where we do need. We can find out some areas where we need to use reusable components. So this is one another example of error handling. So error handling, for example, we are calling experience API to process API to the system API. So for example, system API requires authentication whenever it gets called from any API. In this case, like for example, process API is going to send request to the system API. So it means that process API need to have some authentication details in maybe in property files or maybe client ID or secret type of things. And then every time when I make a request to system API, that information need to be supplied. But for example, if system APIs get and client ID secret which may get expired or something like that, and in that case it may start returning 401 error scenario, right? So in that case, process API definitely will receive 401 error from the system API, but do we need to send 401 error to the experience API, right? So I think answer should be no, right? Because this is not a problem for the experience API. So process API need to handle that error, and they need to send maybe 500 or some other error so that process API can fix the problem, and they can uh, keep going with the request. So that in that case, we are not giving any false information to the experience API users that, okay, there is your problem. This is a problem with the process API and they are going to fix it. So this is another scenario where like we can create a kind of error mapping scenarios or whatever, which can become a reusable component. So it means definitely we do repetitive tasks and we should find some solution, and that which can help us to reduce the development time, and it will also become a little bit on the standards to follow, and that's how we can save the time. The solution is we should build some reusable, extendable building blocks. So how we can achieve that in MuleSoft? So one of the most popular one is the system API. So we should split the APIs into independent APIs so that that can become reusable ones. Like for example, if you want to send an email or we file transfer, we are looking for some queue mechanism systems, or we are interacting with the database or anything like that. So we always create a system API as per the 3-layer architecture suggested by the MuleSoft. So this is basically system APIs are also providing reusability, right? For example, if any one process API using system API, then another system API can reuse the same system API. We don't need to create it again. So in that case, we can achieve via making HTTP request, or we can use a connector, which can be like used as any other connector. And another option is Mule domain projects. So basically, Mule domain project provides a mechanism where we can create shareable global configurations which can be used across multiple projects, but that has to be deployed on the same domain. So for example, if we have two different domains, so in that case we need to have two different domain projects. but this is going to have only and only like configurations, not the flows and sub flows kind of a thing, right? Then we have a custom connectors. So the custom connectors, basically we can use Mule SDK, which is in Java. We can extend or write our code and create our own customs uh, connectors with the help of Mule SDK. So for example, maybe health check or something, maybe logging kind of a thing. So that's also a possibility that we don't, doesn't mean that we always need to use Mule SDK to implement these two. This is just an example. We can easily achieve scenarios also using reusable subflows as well. But it's just an example. So if you want to implement your own custom connector, so that definitely there's a MuleSoft provides Mule SDK, which can help us to create connectors.
Uh, Bhajan, we have one question. So take it now, or would you like to take it later on?
Yeah, we can take it now. That will be fine.
Okay. So one question for Devendra is, what is error handling pattern in Mule?
Error handling patterns, basically, error handling standard point of view look at, then we have like own error code continue and propagate thing, but we can build our own error handling patterns based upon your business requirements and business scenarios, right? So for example, the error that case I was discussing about here, so in that case, for example, system api is returning 401 error, then we should not be returning the experience API a 401 error. So this is a not a, like anything written rule in the MuleSoft. This is a your business requirement which tells that okay how we wanted to handle that one. So it varies from organization to organization. So how you want to do in which scenarios, because some people wanted to do read rise, some people wanted to do fail the request itself. So there is nothing like it's not standard error pattern defined, but yeah, so in general there's a way of handling the errors, and the way of handling errors is provided by on error continue, on error propagate, or raising error, custom errors. So these kind of things that we can do. Is there another question?
Is there no other pattern like only custom handling or mule predefined handling? Right?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, is there no other way, only custom and this MuleSoft provided exception handling? That's it, right?
Yeah, so in other way means definitely we have to handle the error as per the business requirements.
Devendra, you means like
And
any third party error handling type of thing? Like apart from what MuleSoft provide, anything else we can do?
For the integration solution, I want to know what are the pattern. Is there any patterns, standards, or anything like that?
so in specific, in case of error handling, there is no specific error handling patterns, but there are other design patterns, which is like not related to specific to the error handling thing. But yes, there are different options are provided, like reconnection strategy, or do you want to fail the transaction altogether? Do you want to do rollback transaction or not? So these kind of things are available, but uh, it's not like any particular standard for error handling specifically.
Got it. Thank you.
So another one is the Mule plugins. Um, these are like there are a lot of Mule plugins we can create ourselves, and there are a lot of available as well. Like one of them is kind of a SonarQube, which can help us to maybe do a static code analysis kind of scenario. And another one is templates. We can create a lot of templates based upon again your business requirements, and we can publish them on Exchange, uh, and then those templates can be reused and extended later on as per your requirements. And the last one that I'm aware of, that is externalizing reusable mule flows. So that's we are going to discuss in detail now. So one is basically we need to find out, okay, what are the reusable flows that we can be reused into multiple projects or other projects. And then we can create them as a shared resource. These are the two steps basically. So let's talk about the first step. What is that? One is the create reusable flows. So basically, for example, we find out that we want to do the logging again and again in one particular pattern, Like we wanted to analyze, and every logging line we wanted to see, for example, which method was called, from which API it was called, what was the transaction ID, and maybe what was the resource name which was invoked, right? So this kind of a pattern that can help, like instead of creating again and again, we can create our, for example, custom, like our common logger kind of a flow, which can be reused into multiple projects. And this is a kind of a shared, when you want to create this, basically we will create standard MuleSoft project application, not like a domain project. It's a standard Mule application. Once we do that, we can create multiple flows, whatever, how many flows we wanted to create in this. Then next thing, basically make a change in the POM file where we need to add this particular classifier as a Mule plugin, which will help us to uh, expose this MuleSoft application as a plugin. It is
recommended way is that we should be able to store that in somewhere in the binary repository,
like Nexus, Artifactory, Architeva, or something like that. So there are a lot of products available which are binary distribution repositories can be used. So we should be using proper versioning as well, because sometimes, for example, we introduce one version and later on we found out, okay, we wanted to make some changes. And if there's a not breakable changes, then we should definitely, we can use the same version. But if it is a breakable change, then it is recommended that we should version it, increase the version, minor version, or major version, depending upon the changes that you have come up with. So we should be having proper versioning mechanism. And last one line is basically mentioned that if it always, sorry, all good? Cool.
All good.
So that,
So request
The
for
first-
actually, yeah, everyone can mute yourself if you are not speaking anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Bhajan, you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Bhajan, meanwhile, we have one more question.
yeah,
So it is from Vijay, and he's asking like, what is the significance of domain project? First one. Second, we can have a reusable error handling even without domain project.
yes. So, okay, the first question is, what is the significance of domain project? Domain project, basically, whenever we create a Mule application, so first it gets created a domain. And if you notice that in Mule application when you deploy, so first you will see in the log that default domain created, right? For example, if you look at this one, it says that default domain. So you can create your own domain as well. So for example, you have 20 APIs and one API is related to, for a company, for example, they have two different departments. So you are creating some APIs for HR department. They have some HR specific configurations, for example. So you can create a separate domain project, which can have separate Mule configurations, which can be used across on for those particular APIs, those related to that particular department. So in the same way, for example, another set of 10 APIs, those are related to, for example, the other department. And for that, we can create separate Mule domain project, and then that can be used for that particular set of APIs. But again, this is a domain specific one, is basically that domain configuration can applied only to those APIs which belongs to that domain. So second question, I think you mentioned that we can use a reusable error handler even without domain project. Yes. So that is possible that we can create our separate error handler flows into the separate applications. We don't need to have domain project.
Hey, Bhajan,
Is it all good?
let me add few points here. So first thing for domain project, actually, like you must use this on-premise deployment model. If you are using cloud of deployment model, you will not able to use domain project, since each application will be deployed on one worker and each worker is a separate entity on cloud of deployment model. Okay. So if you want to create domain project, if you want to create your own domain project, you will not able to use that domain project on Cloud Hub. So if you are working on on-premise model, then only you will be able to use it. And whatever shared resource you want, you can keep inside domain project and you can share in within multiple applications. So that is the advantage of domain project. For example, you are creating HTTP connection, and you know like that HTTP connection you are going to use in multiple applications. So you can create inside domain project and you can use in multiple applications. Same way like error handling, as you mentioned, like yes, you can create error handling inside domain project and you can use that error handling in multiple application. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, thanks, Vijay. You can go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. So the first step was basically creating the reusable flows that we have discussed about that. And second option is, the second part is basically we need to reuse those flows. So for example, if you want to, we need to create a project. In that project form file, we need to add that as a dependency. And then that is kind of artifact ID and version number, for example, if there's whatever specific version you want to use. And then classifier is important that we need to specify as a new plugin. And once it is added, you add as a dependency in your project, then you should be able to see something similar and with the particular version as well into your project as a dependency section. And now in the demo, I will just show first this part. And in this one, I'm going to show you two projects. One is Mule reusable flows. As the name says that it has some flows which are going to be reused into other projects. And the Mule Meetup demo is basically where we are going to use the reusable flows in this project. So the first API is, let me show you guys here. So I have created some flows here like health check and custom logger. And this custom logger basically has this file, which has some logging mechanism here. And I have just want to reuse these flows like name, for example, you look at this flow name, it says log incoming request, right? So we will reuse this flow into the other project. So if you look into this project, and this one says that, okay, we are using Mule reusable flow version 1.0.0. And if you look into this flow, and let's look at this one. So this flow is referencing to the log incoming request flow, right? So this flow is not added in this flow, right? It is just we are just reusing it from which was created in the other project. So I have just deployed this application. And if you look into this one, this one is just a listener incoming thing. And this one has just one flow, which is going to make an external call, and then it's going to return a response back. And this is basically going to capture the log, whatever response returned back. And let's have a look. We will going to test that API. I have already deployed this API. And let's So first, let's do the health check. When we send a request, so it's saying that COVID infected, so it means the API is, so we should send another request to that request is deployed. Yeah, so the status is okay. So oxygen level is 92, which is looking quite good. So it means that our API is looking good. So now we can send the request to the actual API. So now let's send this request and send the request here. So we received the response back here, right? So as I mentioned in this demo, like we can see the request is also, we can see the log is here, right? So if you look at this log, so it says that incoming request, and then it has a external request, then external response back, and then we have a final response back, outcome response back here. So we can see that for one request, there are 4 entries. One is incoming request, outgoing request, external request, and whatever response came back from the API, and then final response that we are sending back to the client. So if you look into this as well, it just says that what is that incoming or outgoing pattern, and then method name, then request path, showing the payload, whatever is that. So that is what we have kind of a mentioned here. So request path and attribute. So if we want to, for example, add transaction ID, for example, we want to enhance this reusable flow so that we can add transaction ID into the, so we want to see basically transaction ID in every log entry. So for what we need to do, we need to make a change in the common logger, which is part of this new reusable flow. And then we need to reuse that flow here. So basically there are two steps now. So one, basically we make a change in the flow, whatever we want. In this particular scenario, there will be it is up to you guys. We wanted to create a new version or not, but I have created a new version because just to make sure that we are, whatever change we have done, so there is no confusion. So so let's have a look on this flow. So what is changed? So if you look in this new flow, so I have added a transaction ID at the end. So now if we use this particular version of the new reusable flow, then we should be able to see transaction ID at the end in the login section. So to do that, so what I did, I have this POM file is basically from reusable flow. I have changed the version number here, make it 101. And now to use this particular version, we need to make change here in the new flow, making it 101 as well. So this dependency version is changed, that now we are going to use this particular version. And if you look into the logger flow, that's good. And I need to redeploy this application so that stopping it here. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, Rajan, we have two questions. One is from Shiva and one is from Hiralal. So Shiva question is, did you use error handling in domain project?
No, I have not used error handling in the domain project.
Yeah, so like basically we don't create error handling in domain project. We do all the necessary configurations in that. Okay,
Yes,
so for
that's
error
my
handling, we can
understanding.
have a separate flow we can have where we can use that flow in any other flow which we want. We can refer that flow. Like basically how it happen in cloud, like we create a customized error handling jar and then we use that as a dependency in whatever flow we want to refer that. So in domain
Yeah.
project, basically we don't create error handling. We just do that for configurations, not for defining any
Yes.
error handling in that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Next question is from Hiralal. Can we push Mule plugin reusable to MuleSoft Exchange?
Yes, that is possible. But only thing is that, for example, whenever you want to run in the pipeline and depend, like for this is kind of a separate kind of a plugin, right? So for example, if you wanted to create a connector, you drag and drop, if you into this Mule palette, in that case, you have to add a kind of a dependency here. And then you have to mention that dependency in the pom.xml file. And then it means what happens? It's going to download that dependency related components from Exchange. But it is up to you guys. Do you want to push into the Exchange or do you want to push into the any repository? So definitely we should use the same pattern, whatever you are pushing for any Mule application, for example. Standard, for example, Mule applications, when you create jar file before deploying into the any specific environments, if you are putting into some binary repository or something like that, then I think recommended is use the same pattern. So if you are not using any storage, binary storage thing, then you can use maybe Exchange in that case. So does this answer your question, or Kira, are you good? Cool. Perfect. So meanwhile, this application is deployed. So let's have a look. So version is, we had made a change. So let's have a look here as well. So this is new reusable flow, and to verify that, yes. So we can see that it's version, right? So version says 1.0.1. And if you click on this thing and click on this part, you should be able to see, verify if the change has come through or not. So you can see here that change has come through. So it means that it should be all good to go. And then let's hit the request again. So again, I will do health check first. Yeah, looking good. So it means the application deployed, and then we will do the request again. Request response received. And let's have a look into the console again. And now we should be able to see that this transaction ID, right? So we can see this transaction ID is attached now in our log entries, right? So that is how we can reuse this, any flows, whatever you want to. So I have just, for the purpose of simplicity, I have just one flow for the logging. You guys can add it for error handler or anything like that. So it is up to you guys how you want to add, or you can extend it for as many flows or sub flows you want to add it. And as you have you might have noticed that I am calling the health check API. So generally, his health check API is kind of a very standard pattern. So if you notice that it is not created in this demo project as well. So basically that health check API is also, I have created in the reusable flow as a separate flow. So this is the one basically, which is, I have configured the response here. So even though I have not, so for example, if we have hundreds of APIs, so if you want to create health check resource for every API, so you don't need to create for each and individual API. You can just define once here, and you can reuse it in all other projects. So that's another example of that, how we have achieved this health check implementation using the same endpoint, just added the health at the end, and we are able to see the health check API implemented for this API. Cool. So that was a just demo. If you have any further questions for this particular part, then please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we can move on to the next one. Cool. Looks like there are no questions. Quite good. Either people are understanding it or maybe it's going over. Let's have a look. Cool. So the next one is Maven dependencies. So MuleSoft, when we talk about dependencies, basically it means that this project can be dependent upon MuleSoft connectors, plugins, or for example, external libraries like database or JMSQ, IBMMQ, or whatever. So for example, maybe any other Java solution that we have implemented. So in that case, we need to add them as a dependency in our MuleSoft projects. So for example, if we talk about our reusable flow, so for example, we have a team of 50 people. They are working on, they're making changes on MuleSoft plugin for example, reusable flow, enhancing it with, for adding some extra features, something like that. And they are coming up with new version of the our reusable flows, for example, or custom or utility project, whatever you say. So if other person is not aware of, then means that maybe we are still using the older version of dependency, right? So same way, so it is important to know what are the latest versions of these dependencies for connectors, for whatever. So shared resources and Java framework. So these are the basically dependency version I'm talking about. So in the POM file, we have specific version for specific connectors. So, and the MuleSoft keeps on releasing new version for each and every connector. Like for It could be related to improvements, or it can be related to the bug fixes. So let's have a quick look on the most popular MuleSoft connectors. One is the, I think, this web service consumer, where we are going to make calls to the SOAP services. So we need to use particular version, maybe any of these one. And other one is HTTP connector. So any like listener, HTTP listener, most of the time when we expose a REST API, we are using HTTP listener connector. And its latest version is now 1.5.25, which was released in June somewhere. And if you can see, that previous version was released in the March. So basically in the last 2 or 3 months, there has been 2 releases already for this one. And this was released just a few days ago, like 29th of July 2021. So now it is we need to make sure how we are using the latest dependencies. However, like in MuleSoft AnyPoint Studio platform, they have provided a feature where we can click on the knob and we can get that updated. But sometimes I have found that it does not pull the latest version of it. So it is up to you guys. Do you want to use that one, or there's another thing called, which is Maven based. So where versions is a separate plugin provided by the Maven. So for that, you don't need to install anything. You just use this version as it is. So there are, for example, I have listed a few of them here, like display dependency updates, use latest releases, and something like that. So I will just explain these in. So for example, the first one is display dependency updates. If you run that in your project, then it may take first time few maybe minutes, but next time onwards it should be very quick. So it has identified that this particular flow is using this version 1.0.0, for example, but now is available is 1.2.3. So it will try to list out all of the outdated dependencies. These dependencies can be Mule specific, or it can be non-Mule specific. Like for example, any custom build applications, or any, like for example, if you're connecting to Oracle database or a DB2 database. So it doesn't matter if it's a Mule specific or not. And if you look at this one, this one MuleSoft.util.mule, right? So this is a Mule reusable flow. So this version is kind of outdated because, for example, this is not Mule one. It is not third-party one. This is just you guys have created. So even though it is able to find out version outdated versions for any of the dependency basically. And this first flow will just give you a report. It shows you that which is outdated, but it will not going to make any changes. But for example, if you want to say that, oh, I just wanted to get this updated without looking at that, display gives you an option where you can verify, okay, you want to do it or not. You can make your choice. But if you say that, no, I am always happy with using the latest version of it, then you can use this use-latest-releases plugin. So what it will do, it will try to update all of the outdated one. For example, if you look into this particular log entry, when you run this particular plugin in the log, it will show you what it is trying to do. So it has updated, for example, the first one, Mule plugin 8.1.0 to 11.1.1. And the second one says that for particular MUnit-Tools plugin, his version is changed from 2.1.5 to 2.3.4. So in that case, it will not ask you for any confirmation or anything like that, but it will just update your POM file, the latest versions. So when it gets updated, so it will create a backup POM file as well, so that you can still, if you want to use or compare what is changed, so there's the option. So you will be able to see that new file has created with the pom.xml.version backup, which will be your older file, and your pom.xml file is going to have the latest updated version. So like for example, if you look into I have done a kind of a diff on the file, the pom.xml file, just see what is changed. So you can easily see as well, like what is changed now. Yeah, so if you look at this one, the use latest releases, this just change only values for the versions, those are mentioned directly inside the dependency tag. For example, sometimes people use here properties, so it will not update those properties. So you just need to be specific that, okay, so what particular version is doing what. So this, it will not update anything if property values basically. So if you want to check what properties are changed, so you need another display property updates. So that is the one basically which you need to try. So it will going to give you the what properties values are changed to what. So let's have a quick look on this particular demo as well. What I will do, I will go back to this project, and this is my, for example, what is that, meetup demo. I will apply the changes here. So let's have a look. For example, let's make it 1.5.22 and so just now I have made a change. I have from 1.5 to 1.5.22, and now I just wanted to use the maybe display one. So that's the plugin. Here Maven versions colon, then the name of the plugin. Hopefully it will show up now. Oh, there are so many others. Cool. So HTTP connector. I use 22. Oh, maybe I have used somewhere else. Oh, maybe this one. So somehow I was having two dependencies. So that's why it is showing me here that there is some dependency called 1.5.0 to 1.5.25, and there are some others as well. So which is providing us a list of all the dependencies. So that is one way to just check quickly that what are the latest version we have used this one. So even though you can run that in the pipeline, if you want to just verify, and if you want, you can add that configurations into your run configuration, where like when you're running a Maven command, preferences, Maven, yeah, like you can add up that detail here as well. So it will, if you run every time, it will automatically check for you, but it's up to you. Do you want to use this pattern or not? But because sometimes it just becomes unnecessary delay for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, that every time you're going to check if anything is updated or not. But I think it is good to use just once in a pipeline, just verify if something is outdated so that it can give you a report. So I'm just trying with the now use one. So let's see what will happen. So it has says that now that updated these details. So if I now look into the ls-lpr, so you can see that this pom.version file is created here. And this is now pom.xml file, which is now has updated versions. So if you look at this one, so now this one was previously 1.5.0, now it is changed to 1.5.25. So it's updated automatically. Cool. So that was me about these two topics today. Hopefully that was a little bit of helpful for you guys, informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Vijan. So we have one question from Muhammad Asif.
Yeah. What is use of Ning W? So I am just using that as a tool where like gives us a Linux experience on Windows. So there are a lot of other tools like Cygwin or MingW. So you can use this to run Linux commands on Windows machine. For example, if I'm able to run this ls-lpr, but if I use the command line, then we need to use dir. So I'm more familiar with, I like basically Linux commands. So that's why I just installed MingW thing so that I can get feeling of Linux on my Windows machine. But you can see this same command will work on your CMD as well. It is not a problem.
But I have one question. Actually, like for this plugin, whatever you created reusable file, so either
Yeah.
Dependency file.
and we can use, or we can create custom connector. So as per your understanding, which one is like most appropriate way to use this kind of reusable component?
Again, it depends on how you want to do it, but from my personal preference is reusable flow, because in that case, sometimes very easy, we can go and check and see what's going on. But in the MuleSoft connector, generally, we are not able to see what is the internal implementation is. For example, it's very easy to see that, oh, how should this look like, right? And I quickly just went to this particular what is that? Sorry, went here, this MuleSoft usual flow, click on this, click on just this, and I was able to see quickly without going anywhere else that, okay, what was changed or how it should behave, that I can easily see that part, right? But if in case of connector, we have to go to particular source code or repository and find out what's going on. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I'm using this for a lot of flows instead of connectors. But again, it's personal choice or how you want to do it. But I didn't find any problem using it, any disadvantage of so far. I'm not sure if there is any performance gain or not, but for us, it is working very well.
And this one also we will use as a dependency only, like we will put on Nexus and we will import as a dependency. So indirectly,
Yes, yes. Yes. So that's what I in my slide also mentioned, that we have to store it into the dependencies. Yeah. And that's what I didn't show that part as well, but yeah, I was planning to show that as a demo as well, like where we can push this into the Nexus and then we can download that from Nexus or wherever. Because generally this dependency, whatever you mentioned, a POM.xml file, it will try to look into the wherever it is available, right? So if you have configured the Nexus, then it will try to look into Nexus, right? Because generally in the pipeline in the container, there will be no local copy of that, right? So m2 file. In that scenario, definitely it has to come from either from Exchange or it should come from any binary repository.
And when we will use that particular dependency, then I think we will not able to see that this code also. For example, I created
think,
an application.
Yeah, it should be. I think it should be visible here, because whenever you're using plugin kind of scenario, then it should be visible here.
Okay, we will able to see flow. Then good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. All good.
I think
Cool.
We have two more questions, one from Sandhya and one from Vijay. So Sandhya
Yeah.
asked, can we deploy one application in Cloud Hub and another one in on-prem? So I tried to answer, but you can see that.
Cool. So yes, it is possible that it is, if you want to use the hybrid type of a model, so there's no problem. Technically, it is possible, but again, it is up to you guys what you want to achieve by using that pattern. For example, there are some clients, those who wanted to save some licensing costs, they don't want to create a lot of separate microservices. There are some services, I know one of the client which is using hybrid model in that scenario, some services which are going on cloud and they are using hybrid solution for deploying multiple APIs on one server, so that they don't, for example, they are deploying 10 services on the hybrid model kind of API, which are not that frequently used APIs. But yes, it is completely technically possible that you can choose to deploy some of the application on Cloud Hub and some of the applications on in hybrid model. But as Abhishek mentioned previously, that if you wanted to use hybrid deploy in the cloud applications, in that case, domain project will not be that helpful or useful, even because in the Cloud Hub, there's a one application is deployed on one worker node. So it means we are not able to achieve any kind of a reusability technically on the deployment, if you look on a deployment perspective. But yes, if you want to say that, okay, I have created one configuration once, and we wanted to keep using the same deployment project for all other applications. In that case, just we are going to maybe saving it where you don't need to um, create those configurations again and again in separate project. But technically, there is no sense of creating a domain project. Domain projects are generally created whenever it is getting shared across multiple APIs. Cloud Hub, there is a sharing is not possible because one server has a domain project and its own application, so it is not shared across multiple APIs on Cloud Hub. But in hybrid model, yes, it is possible that you can create one domain project and deploy 10 different APIs on under the, and then in that case it becomes reusable.
Bhajan, in this, like I have a question. So like this is basically happens like most of the organization, what they do, like they create experience API on cloud and they create their process and system on-prem, and then they connect their experience with their on-prem systems.
Yeah.
Correct. So that will be treated as a hybrid.
Yes, yes. So as long as there's a combination of both, like
Yeah.
where you have on-premise architecture as well as cloud architecture, we are using both. Then
Correct.
in my knowledge, yes, that is a kind of hybrid example.
Yeah. Okay.
In hybrid model, like runtime plane, we will have on on-premise, and this deployment, this management plane will be provided by MuleSoft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
in
there
hybrid,
is-
like, yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in hybrid, like what I have worked with, like when we deploy any application, so we get that option, like you want to do it on Cloud Hub or you want to do it on a cluster. So basically when we create any on-prem, we get clusters, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll get both that option, and then according to that, the API will be deployed. Just the thing is, like if it is on-prem, it will be attached with a domain project. So it should be deployed on-prem, like creating a project on with a domain specific and deploying it on Cloud Hub is not possible.
It is
It should be
possible
specific.
technically,
Okay.
but only thing is that it is not useful. Like having a domain project is not shared by across the multiple projects, because if you do a deployment on, if you look at the logs of the Cloud Hub as well, it creates domain, default domain. It's always creates, right?
Default domain, yeah.
Yeah. So it means domain gets created. If you are not installing there, that's your choice. But domain gets created. So if you put that domain project there as well, but it will be used, can be used in the same Mule application as well. But again, that configuration will not be used by any other project. But in that case, the only benefit that we can achieve is that we don't need to create all the, for example, if one project company is using 100 configurations, and they don't want to create those all of the 100 configuration into separate individual API, then we create that domain project and use that on the deployment.
Use that, correct. Okay, so next we have from Vijay.
Yeah.
So what is the Maven configuration for binary repository to read this reusable flow?
What is yeah, cool. So what is the Maven configuration binary repository to read this? Okay, so we are using Nexus. So in the Nexus, basically, we whenever like any Mule reusable flow, we create a new version, we always push into the Nexus. And if you want to use it from Nexus, it is on the same thing, like it is same as the dependencies. We just don't need too much worry about that. We can just specify that dependency version in the pom.xml file in which project we are going to use. For example, this one, Control C, Control F. Sorry. So that is just a dependency. We have added it here. So it will automatically pick it up if you're using Nexus or whatever. That has to specify under repositories. So as of now, I have not for this demo purpose. I I have used locally previously, but I didn't show that because I have using this Nexus deployed locally, and we can pull it from there itself.
So we're actually not connecting to the Nexus, right? So how are you able to replicate that in your local? I'm just curious.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So like the idea behind that is you're pushing the artifact mule reusable artifact to Nexus or any other repository, binary repository, right? In this case, you're actually not connecting
Yes,
to
yes.
any repo, but how are you able to replicate that in your local?
Oh, yeah. Basically, you know that in the Maven dependency, it works like that. For example, first it try to look into your local repository, local.m2 folder. If something is not there, then it's try to connect to the wherever repositories that we have mentioned here in the POM file, right? So in this scenario, it is because I have it is available in my m2 folder. So that's why I have no need to pull the from the Nexus. Did I answer what are you asking for or something?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. All good.
So is there a way like you can share this implementation with the team? Like, we can run it locally and test it out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to put that on my GitHub project, so I can share that GitHub um, link URL, and should
Yeah,
be okay.
so what I will do after this event, actually, you will able to get all these detail in this particular page. So once you will visit MuleSoft Hong Kong page, so there you will get all the detail
Yeah,
like recorded session, and I will post that GitHub URL there only.
Thank you.
cool.
Thank you very much.
We have one question from Shiva, like how to integrate the APIs, multiple APIs. So Shiva,
How
if you want,
to
you can
integrate?
unmute and you can ask directly what you want to say with this question. Like, Shiva. If I understand, like might be he's asking like how we connect two APIs or two or more APIs using the API-led connectivity or through the request. Is it what you're asking, Shiva?
Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah, he's asking that. He replied on chat.
okay, cool. Anyway, if okay, yes. So yeah, if for example, if we are having APIs to one to send email, one to send text messages, one to insert data into the databases, for example. So we have, for example, these three APIs, one to send a text message on the mobile phone, other is sending email, and third one is inserting data into the database. So in that scenario, we need to create three different system APIs, and then we can consume those APIs from the process API. If we follow the three-layer architecture, if you want to do the monolithic application, then you can do the same thing in the one application itself, but it's not the recommended way to do it. So we should have a process API, which is going to consume all of these three APIs. And consuming these three APIs, again, we can use HTTP connector or HTTP request or web service consumer based upon the what type of request we have exposed. Generally, we create system APIs, the REST API. So connecting through HTTP request would be a option. Um, but it depends upon your requirement. These three APIs that you want to call, those needs to be called sequentially or possible to call in. Again, if you want to call it better, then you can use scatter gather and something like that. And but if you think that output of one API is depending upon to call second API or not, in that case, you means sequential API you're talking about. So yeah, it is possible, but again, we can do the same thing that I did here. For example, let's have a quick look. Yeah, that is make external calls. into this flow F3. So this flow is basically not that. And reference flow. This is again ref. External call invocation. Oh yeah, that I have also put in my reusable flow. So this is possible by using HTTP request. That's fine. So it is. Oops, where is that? Anyway, sorry, somewhere lost somewhere. But anyway, yeah, it is possible by calling HTTP request. So you can call it by making HTTP request. Sorry. Anything else? Did I answer your question, Samba? Hopefully I have. Cool. Anything else? Or otherwise we can move to the quiz part. I can hand over to our dear hosts to run the quiz.
So anyone have any question before we go to quiz? Anyone want to ask any question, or we are good to go with the quiz now? If you want, you can unmute yourself. You can ask the question.
Okay. Meanwhile, Abhishek, I am sharing next meetup link. So we have next meetup on 14th of August. So using this link I shared in chat, you can join our next meetup. So like we have on 14th of August.
Yeah, sure. Also, like, so I think we don't have any much questions, so we can go with the quiz. So before going to the quiz, can I request everyone to like switch on their camera and we can have a picture?
Yeah. Let's take some picture. So I think
Yeah.
we given access to everyone. So yeah, you can come on camera. So we can take 2-3 picture and we will share it on our like
Page, meetup page,
social
we'll share that.
page, and then on LinkedIn also we can share. So I think Abhishek, you stop sharing your screen. Oh, okay.
No, Bhajan is sharing. I'm not sharing. Also, I'm sharing the WhatsApp group link in the chat. You can join our group as well.
Hey, hi Steve. Oh, you are there. Yeah. Hi.
Guys, can you please all switch on your camera? Like lots of people have not yet switched it on.
I think we have given presenter access to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everyone. We captured a few picture and we will post on like our LinkedIn and our meetup page. Yeah,
Sure.
perfect. So now next, maybe you have access, so you can share your screen and you can start that.
I guess Tejashwi
Okay.
has that ready. Tejashwi, you have that ready. Can you share your screen with the Kahoot?
Yes, I'm sharing it.
So we will be playing our quiz on Kahoot. So you need to use two different devices. One like you will see the screen in the in our meetup. We will share the screen and you will see the questions over there. You need to use one more device where you can answer the question. So like you will see different colors of boxes. The same boxes you will see in your other device, which you need to choose in order to answer. And I have a request, like if anyone is a meetup leader for any group or have won any voucher in last 30 days, please let us know, because although you win today, you won't be eligible to claim that one. It's a new rule from yourself. Like if you are a leader for any group or if you won any voucher in last 30 days, you cannot claim any other voucher within 30 days. So please let us know if anyone win any voucher and they have won it in last 30 days.
Okay. So we are going to conduct this quiz via Kahoot app. URL kahoot.in. So what you need to do, you need to use this URL in your mobile. Okay, and we will share question in our screen, and you will able to answer through your mobile device. So I will suggest use two device. One where you are currently attending this event, and another one you can use your mobile for playing this Kahoot game. Okay, so three lucky not lucky winner, three winner will get this MuleSoft training voucher. Okay, so you need to answer the question within particular time. So there will be 30 seconds for each question, and whoever will able to answer more questions within lesser time, that person will be winner for this event. Okay, and we are going to select three winners. Okay, Tejasvi, you can share your screen and you can start.
Just
First.
1 minute. She's having some issue. Just let me try.
Okay.
And it is Kahoot.it. Sorry for that. It is Kahoot.it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Just give me 1 minute. I'm just trying to open that. Meanwhile, we can stop the recording, I guess.
Yeah. Let me stop this recording.